Welcome to episode 25 of We Have Issues. I'm Anthony.
I'm Stevie Wildcard.
Wild Child. All right.
Wild Child! I can't hear you! That was actually not, that wasn't horrible.
That was fantastic. Every week, Stevie Wildchild, Wildcard, Wild Thing, and I get together and we do our best to Karate Kid crane kick our issues in the face, and sweep their legs and such, and do what we can to get something done in the world. This time it's a semi-autobiographical time travel graphic novel musical, and it's coming along. We're getting ready to launch a Kickstarter. Actually, we've made a lot of progress. How did you do this week?
I completely finished one page right here.
I feel kind of like disappointed because you give me that sweet F sound. You're like, I was like, failed. I'm gonna say it. Here it comes. And of course, you succeeded.
But yes, so I completely finished, and one of my favorite images in the whole thing is the last image of him sliding out of the oven.
Yes.
And it looks really dynamic. I feel like I did a pretty good job on that. The hand. It's that.
The hand really ties the room.
Show the various hands here. Just do it's
so good.
Can't say what I know. But anyways, yeah, it's like this. It's like the hand I draw the best. So I incorporate it in at least once per issue of something, but sometimes multiple panels. And
it's our Wilhelm scream. Like it's the thing that ends up in everything, no matter what, for sure. But
I finished that page completely. Even like final edits on Photoshop for you to flat, and then I have all the blues for page 13 here, which is all the that's when you come out of the oven and all the all the establishing shots and things like that. So I came close to finishing 2 pages.
Very cool. I did pretty much what I said. I basically finished coloring or flatting 1 page, and then I went through and just made an itemized list of everything we're going to need for Kickstarter, and I began actually setting up the Kickstarter online.
That's awesome.
It feels really good to do it. So when I was writing, they want you in the subtitle to say, what it is. Like, what are you making? And I'm like, a semi-autobiographical time travel graphic novel musical. So I wrote that, and I was like, how can I not write that? That's like, I've been saying this for so long. It just needs to go there. They're like, what are you making? I'm like, I'll tell you exactly what I'm making. I've been saying it forever, and here it comes. Like, it's get ready for your eye/ear holes for this thing. Like,
it's awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool. It's really fun. Like, it's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna start setting up. I wrote down all of the various rewards and stuff, and like how much I think it's fair to ask for every particular thing. You and I haven't talked a lot about what our goal is, so I think we kind of have to get into that a bit. I think really I think we're on the same page with kind of wanting to just print out a decent amount of books for ourselves and then never let anyone read it. No. But basically, like, I think we want to print out a decent amount of books, so then we can bring them to local comic shops, go to markets whenever they open, go to cons. Hopefully, one day they open, and we can go back to cons. But there are a lot of like art. There are a lot of opportunities, at least locally, for artists to set up tables and to meet people and get the book in people's hands. So I think. Is that what you're thinking? Is just we want to print maybe 100, 200 books just for us, so we can have a nice inventory.
Yeah, even if it's at like a loss, basically. If it ends up, I doubt it will be, but even if it is, at least that way we can just at least get this first book out, and then like get people interested. We do have like, I wouldn't say connects, but we do have mild connections to some local comic book shops.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure we can figure that front out anyway.
Mm-hmm. It's a little daunting. Like, it's intimidating figuring out how much we should ask for.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be ridiculous and get greedy. I'm trying to figure out exactly how much it would cost to print the books, and I kind of have an idea of what it'll cost. But I'd also like to get you some money for doing all of the art, So
I'm pretty much just accepting that, like, we're going to have to kind of pay our dues.
Right.
And like, basically not profit. I mean, just think about any business you start, the first 5 years, typically you aren't taking much home or anything. I'm kind of viewing this as like an investment into our future, basically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And even if I have to come out of pocket, if we have to come out of pocket, or I have to come out of pocket, just to get some stuff going, then that's just what it is. And then, and then we'll grow from there,
Right. Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm anticipating. Like, what I really hope is that people see what we're doing, find the Kickstarter through this and through various means of our, advertising, and hopefully people help us with that, by sharing it with their families and grandparents. But I'm really hoping that we can set a number that's decent, so we can meet our goal, get the books to the people who actually want to read it, and then also have enough left over to print some. And that's really all. Like, if we can just have enough to have that extra inventory with no additional money in either of our pockets, like, that would be really nice. And then that would literally be able to kickstart our careers, and that would be nice.
Literally.
Yeah.
We gotta send an issue to Claudio and an issue to Casey too.
Oh, they're gonna get it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. What we haven't really discussed is how about the printing of the music, or how we're going to share the music. And what I've been thinking of, just because I feel like I've been looking into getting vinyls printed, and I feel like it's just a little too expensive for our Kickstarter, to like justify it. Because if we included it as a reward in the Kickstarter, it would have to, because we'd have to order so many in order to get any sort of deal, and the money just would be, it's intimidating at this point. And not to mention, I think that as much as it's fantastic and amazing idea, and I still want to do it eventually, I don't think as many people have record players these days, even even for novelties purposes. So I think what might be best is we can offer MP3s and, links to, like Bandcamp or whatever, or just MP3 zip file links to people, and let them have it on their phone or whatever they want. That way they at least can listen to the music while they're reading it, or before and after.
And maybe this is still getting too ambitious, but what if we did something like where we printed like the vinyl sleeve, but then actually just put like the download code in it?
We can do that. I like that. You know what? I like that. You know why I like that? Because we can actually make it like a lyrics book.
Yeah.
And we can put I like that. We can
work on something like that.
Yeah, so let's I think this week we should try to work on the Kickstarter stuff and solidify it. Oh, by the way, before we Steven, I'm gonna see you this week.
So excited.
Dude, I'm so excited too. It's been a month. I looked and it was a month ago.
Really? That's crazy,
so,
man.
Yeah, right now we're on episode 25. Next week is a pretty big show for us, because it will have been 6 months.
That's
crazy. Started this podcast. We've been through a lot. When we started the podcast, I was in a relationship I just started a relationship with someone who was going to eventually stalk me.
Man, that situation.
Isn't that interesting? Just like all the stuff that we've been through. It's funny. It's amazing to me. But we haven't seen each other in a month now. So
yeah, but it's a better record than last time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
So
we're making progress all around is the situation, and I'm happy with it.
It's still growing,
but we're gonna get it done. It's gonna be fun. It's going to be really interesting. It's intimidating. I'm trying to get out of my own head, Steven, because I'll tell you what's happening to me is I'm like, maybe we don't have enough people who support us right now. I don't know. My family, no one really seems to ever share the stuff that I do, and I don't think I could support it. And when we did the GoFundMe for the computer, none of my family supported it whatsoever. Well, I had 2 people in my family who were very supportive, Joe and Mel, and I love you guys so much. But it was just so crazy to think that it's all of you guys. It's just the listeners who care, and I know that was probably always going to be the case. But it's still, there's a little part of a pit in here that's just I wish I had a safety net, and I don't feel a safety net exists in my life, which might be for the best, Steven, to be honest with you. It might be for the best. I like that you and I have been doing this, and we've been growing this little colony of people who just we love, and they seem to enjoy the nonsense that we get into. But yeah, so I really hope they show up for us. I think they will.
Oh, I think with just like some of our closer fans, it'll probably be enough.
Yeah. Oh, Steve. Oh, speaking of, okay, I don't know how much of this we're going to keep in here, but so our last episode suddenly jumped like 60 views.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand how it's even happening. It's just it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like we're not worthy moment, but I think we are. Like I really like what we're doing. I think that those episodes were really good. I think they've been getting better. I don't want to be too much of the snake eating its tail talking about the podcast on the podcast, but it's interesting to watch it grow and to see those people actually, hang out with us. Which I don't know what they like, so I always feel confused and conflicted about what I should talk about. And when I come up with like half of an idea, I'm like, I probably shouldn't say this in the podcast, but I'm gonna. That's what's gonna happen. So Steven,
gotta feed them.
So Steven,
they want the biddy.
To that extent, I have a new something of a pitches get stitches.
Pitches get stitches.
I'm just going to tell you the title of this one that came to me right off the bat. I'm not saying it's great, but it's the thing that I thought of, and it is Dragon Tooth. Dragon Tooth. Blood of the Vampire. Imagine a world in which there are dragons. Everyone loves dragons. I love dragons. I know you love dragons. We talked about Dragonheart recently, like through text, which we need to watch very soon. I love dragons, and I feel like there aren't enough dragon movies.
No, but the reason why is because there's not enough dragon movies that are like Dragonheart. Like that movie is
exactly. And I think like there's so much you can do with dragons. And so here's the thing, Steven. What if dragons are real? Dragons existed long ago. That's why
dinosaur bones are dragons.
Are dragons, absolutely. But what we thought went extinct simply went into hiding in plain sight, Steven. Because what they did is the dragons recognized that if they consume enough of a creature's life force, they can take the shape of that creature. So what dragons did was they began drinking human blood so they can live among our society. But if they don't feed, they slowly start becoming what their original form was. So if the dragons don't actually consume human blood, they become the beasts that they were, the winged, fire-breathing monsters that they were. Dragons. So
you're basically just like rewriting the vampire mythos. Like vampires never existed in this universe. Basically, dragons are vampires. It's one and the same creature.
Yep, that's exactly the case. Is they're one and the same creature. And what happens is there's a modern day, and there obviously are going to be some dragons who no longer want to take upon this, this lesser form. They're done with it. They don't want to simply consume the lifeblood of these, monsters, these, savages walking the earth. They want to be the primary force. They want to be in control of everything again. So there are some who start just destroying and stop consuming, basically. So they take over. So, of course, the hero has to step forward. So the hero would have to be a vampire. The hero would have to be a dragon who recognizes the danger of the dragon form in modern day, and that it's just unsustainable.
That in itself is a pretty cool concept, because I feel like vampire movies do tackle the beast within concept, trying to satiate this beast, and that's like a very literal, like, if you let yourself go, you become this like uncontrollable flying like monster.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be so cool. I don't know what the story would be, with the exception of a dragon turned vampire trying to stop a group of dragons from actually just being the beasts that they want to be. So I mean, it might just be a dragon hunter story. It might just be like a Van Helsing, like a Vamp Helsing.
A Vamp Helsing.
A Vamp Helsing. I like Vamp Helsing also. By the way,
Helsing.
Just gonna throw this out there. Vampire Van Helsing, Vamp Helsing.
Vamp Helsing the Dragon Slayer.
I like it so much right now. Belsing the Dragon Slayer is probably our new book. I'm just gonna call it Deathless, but it's really
remember that pitch he did for Deathless? That was just all a ruse. It was a lot. It was a cunning attempt to trick you guys.
So yeah, what we're getting at is there's an immortal dragon who takes the shape of a human, and he's unkillable basically. So it's Deathless. So that's what you voted for. Thank you.
It was never gonna be up to you. No,
it was, yeah. Actually, it is really funny that we did that. I'm glad we did that. It was fun.
The truth is, we were okay with basically every idea. So
yeah,
I mean, that's really what it was. So I mean, we were like, it just basically gives us, because I feel like it's not that you and I, or definitely not you, or I lack direction as much as it's like confidence, and it's cool to like get that, like basically that little booster shot of, hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. That sweet validation. No, but
listen, our dads didn't love us properly, so we need this. We need this validation.
It's so funny. I mean, well, part of it is just like, it's like we put all our eggs in this basket to make this delicious omelet, but I just want to know that someone wants to eat the omelet, Steven. Because like, I'm going to eat it all day. Like, I'm okay with it, and I'll keep making the same delicious omelet, hoping that eventually someone smells it and is like, I need that in my mouth. But it's just nice to know that there's someone in the area who's putting on a bib and like grabbing a fork and knife and it's like, I'm ready to chow down on that thing that you're making because it sounds delicious.
Yeah, for sure.
So it just like it feels good. It doesn't change what we're going to work on or what we're willing to do. We're still making Deathless, whether or not, and like, or you can riot. Like we're making this comic. So yeah, we made a semi-autobiographical time travel graphic novel musical without permission. So I'm happy about it. I am
too.
Yeah, I think what we're doing is pretty cool. I did ask if anyone had questions. We got a bunch of random questions. Some were fun. Paige asked a lot of good questions. Paige asked something that we haven't really discussed on here very much, and she wants to know what style of music we're going to use or create and Play It Again. Like, what is Play It Again going to sound like to people? So
I've said it before, and I feel like Anthony and I have a Venn diagram of music, right? So like where Anthony, I'll have like the metal influences on my, not that Anthony doesn't listen to metal. Anthony does like partake as well, but like Anthony's got more of like the softer indie. And then I have like, the harder metal, and then we kind of meet in the middle with like, like our us elder emos all agree is like, this like the Chiodos and the Used and like that area of our musical taste. However, I feel like, well, we've talked about it, and I feel like the whole album starts with a lullaby. So I don't really think this EP or whatever it's gonna, whatever form it's gonna take, I don't think it's gonna be anything too crazy, like nothing too like fast or anything like that. I think it's gonna fall on the lines of like indie rock, basically, I would think.
Yeah. Well, since a couple of the songs, since the songs that the character is listening to are basically different genres, I think we're going to end up doing a few songs that kind of work as what do you call that in movies? Non-diegetic. Like he's not actually hearing the songs that you're going to hear, but they're songs that are about the thing that you're reading. So there are going to be a few songs that kind of bookend and or like tie together the story that are about the story, and then there are going to be a few songs that are in the story that he's actually hearing that will probably also be about the story. But what they're going to be, as far as I think, and like what we discussed a little, is there's going to be a lullaby, but there's also going to be kind of like an oldies sort of song, and and then probably like a general, like a nice indie song. So I think we're going to, like Steven said, we're going to touch on like a somewhat short spectrum of genre, but it's going to be kind of varied, like it is going to be varied. It's just not going to be really extremes on either side. We're trying to find the sweet spot of music that's not going to like throw anyone off or make you throw your phone and or the book. We don't want you to set the book down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good though. I'm excited to work on that. It's a little intimidating to start the Kickstarter without showing people the songs, but I don't think it's necessary, and I don't really think it's the right thing to do to give people the music out of context.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm just, if I'm honest, and like not to like, I know like you were relieved to be out of that era of your life, but like, man, if you don't write like an epic, like some sort of like not brand new, but some sort of like twisted, like sad song about that phrase that was uttered to you, I'm gonna kill you, because I feel like that's such a powerful, like hurtful phrase, and I feel like it needs to be a hook somewhere in one of the songs. I don't know. But that's up to you. I don't want to just utterly destroy your soul.
Oh no, it's fine. No, there's no pressure. I wouldn't imagine you put any pressure on me and like just threatening my whole life and or existence.
Just channel your inner Shang Tsung into Man That Soul Come Out.
That is pretty much what we do when we write, you know, like that. It's like Hemingway said, all you have to do to write is sit down and channel your inner Shang Tsung.
I think it's pretty much verbatim.
So
I think he said finish him after all of that, right?
Oh, here's the real quote, just so everyone knows. I'm totally just gonna put the thing he
said. It's a great quote. I gotta put a picture of Shang Tsung like this face.
The page also asks, when will Table Scraps be published and available to the public? For the book Table Scraps, I probably should have just released it a while ago, just as it is. I'm not really happy with a few parts of it, and I know it's never going to be perfect, obviously. Like, perfection's the enemy of the good. Like, as much as I keep noodling and, like, whittling away at something, it's just gonna, I'll just keep chopping it until its head's off, you know? Like, I'll kill it for sure. I will, like, Chris Farley my biscuit, you know? Yeah. So, I'll do that forever. So, she's right to ask. In reality, my plan has been to do this, start writing Deathless, and then finally finish the book, because it's really only a couple of chapters that I want to get in and just not perfect, but like, you know, fix, just like tighten up, because there are some chapters that are just too crazy, too like it's like too loose, you know, like I like the tempo, like the pace of the story is lost in a couple of spots, and I have to fix it. It's a silly book anyway. It's a very silly book. I don't know who's going to like it or who it's for, but it's going to release. I'm going to do my best to get it out this year, because I want to be done with it, just like I want to be done with this story, because it's also a breakup story. So I'm just like, I'm ready to move on and like tell more interesting, or like just new stories based on like things I've learned since, you know, and just ideas I've had since, which I'm excited to explore, like Deathless. So I'm aiming for October release, just because it's like a horror-based story.
That makes sense.
Page question the third. Stephen, if we could both be a supernatural creature, what would we be? She didn't specify together or separately. So
we could be Gogeta then, is what you're telling me. We could be fused into one.
We could fuse into one thing, Stephen. I don't know why we wouldn't. I mean, if I could be if I could be aware, Stephen, and just when the moon is full, my beard grows.
Hey, can we just turn into each other?
That would be so cool. Stephen, how cool would it be if every full moon I was you and you were me, and we
sounds like an awkward situation, though. It's that time.
I mean, Stephen, I would look immediately. I would give you no, like, there would be no grace. I wouldn't be like, don't worry. Yeah, I wouldn't be like, don't worry, Stephen, I'm not gonna look. I'd be like, Stephen, let's just get it over with. And
you'd be like, wow, that's a whole lot of average going on.
Oh, wow, Stephen, you're married. This is perfect.
Speaking, dude, I don't even know if you should keep this story for the podcast.
Yeah, go.
But you can if you want. I just gotta figure out how to word this so that it's not completely inappropriate. So let me set the scene. This is completely detouring, but it just got on the topic of, like, you know, genitalia and stuff. So my kids, I like took Tina's hand and I was like polishing Tina's nails, because, you know, like, something I forget is that we're artists. So like we can, like, I don't polish nails, but I can polish nails and do awesome designs on her nails because I can draw. So that's what I did to her. But then my kid's like, Daddy, can we paint your toes? I'm like, of course you can. So Cammy painted my right foot and Chasey painted my left foot. And like Chase's is obviously far worse. But anyway, so like my nails are polished, all this and that. Well, a few hours later, you know, kids are asleep. The parents do what the parents do. And it's fine. There's nothing said until a certain position is taken. And immediately meets these two giant feet and these super polished toes, and it was like just this uproar of laughter, like this taken out of the entire moment because
I love it.
polished my toenails in the worst way possible. But yeah, so if I could transform into anything, oh man, like anything, or are we talking? Well, she said mythical beasts, right?
Yes,
so we're talking like your traditional, like your werewolf, your vampire, dragon, mermaids.
Mermaids,
apparently.
obviously, are very strong and very powerful creatures. Apparently,
they do not beat dragons. I found out
they do not beat dragons. I mean, they could. I read your story and I was on board because
the eel rose.
The eel rose. I was all on board. Steven created a character on the podcast and then brought that character onto Twitter and just breathed life into him and gave him a quiver on his back of Eros, and that's just beautiful. I thought Eros was
they were like electrified, and they would just he killed the dragon, but I guess people just weren't down. They were okay with him. They were okay with Gary the Merman killing the unicorn, but they were not okay with him defeating the dragon.
Not at all.
And then dragon and vampire tied.
I thought that was really interesting. I wish Michelle would like offer up some sort of tiebreaker there, because it seems like it's impossible unless dragons are vampires.
Yeah, like Van Helsing. I was thinking about though, is it in all mythos that vampires are allergic to fire, or in most mythos, or is that just certain ones?
I think it's just certain ones, because if you think about like obviously Lost Boys, they're like around the fireplace while they're
That's like one of the best scenes of the whole movie too.
Yeah. Oh man. No, I mean,
because I was thinking like a dragon. I mean, because like I've seen somewhere fire does seem to impact them, and like a dragon just breathing fire on a vampire. But
it would be a beautiful, beautiful scene. It
just goes back to Game of Thrones really, really messing up. They had zombies and dragons. They had a zombie dragon.
They had a zombie dragon.
It was so cool.
How did they mess that up? I mean,
how do you mess up zombie dragon?
They did it really well. Like they like properly messed it up. They were like, we're gonna go all in here and ruin your life. Steven, speaking of like things
no one has ever messed up more.
Speaking of things that messed up, I know you're like How I Met Your Mother ending apologist. I know that, and that's okay. I get it, and I can be on board with the whole story and him like wanting, spoiler alert if you haven't watched all of How I Met Your Mother, I'm gonna spoil it for you right now because it's been a while and it's okay. When Ted reveals, the thing about Robin, that's all fine, okay? But you want to know what's not fine about How I Met Your Mother, Steven? Want to know what's not fine?
I think I saw one of your tweets, so I think it's that.
Yeah, there are two things. Like, firstly, unless they were writing an episode and then making that one episode, I understand that happens with the pilot, not the rest of the season. The rest of the season, usually they order a season, a group of people goes in a room, writer's room, and they break the episodes, they know what's going to happen, they separate into individual people who get, to write each script, they write the script, they bring it back, they punch it up, it's all amazing. Like, it's a great process. Seems like a lot of fun. I would love to do that, but Steven, there's an episode in which you just see them smoking pot, and then a few episodes later, they do the sandwich thing. I thought the sandwich thing was brilliant. I thought the sandwich thing was one of the best things that they did, because that's what you would do if you were telling your kids a story and you wanted to hide certain things. But there's an episode just a few episodes before that where it's just like they're just smoking pot. I was like, oh,
they weren't hiding it.
They didn't hide it all. Like it was pre-sandwich situation. So it was like, I guess they came up with that after, but they had already ruined it. I was like, I never realized that on my first watch. But what really got me, Steven, I think I wrote a tweet about this, and what really got me is that at one point, Ted tells a story that has nothing to do with meeting the mother. At no point is there a breadcrumb of meeting the mother. He's not even like pretending to hint that it might have happened in that era of time. He's not even like suggesting that one of the people involved in the story might eventually maybe be the mother. Like, no, there's no hint. There's no reason to tell the story. And the story is about the first time he had a threesome.
Now, can I lend some credence to Ted and his ability to tell a threesome story to his children?
Yes, please.
I'm pretty sure my dad would tell a story like that to us kids.
Okay.
I understand my childhood isn't the basis for the majority of America, but
Like, I'm
Maybe
I'm not so
all
sure
I'm saying
like,
is
Ted with his like suede patch, like, you know, like pretentious
encyclopedia. Yeah, that's.
I'm pretty sure that he's not gonna be the one who does the things that your dad did. Like he might have certain now here's the thing. Ted might have, we don't see them, but he might have certain like proclivities. He might have certain interests that your dad shares. Maybe. Not naming names and or kinks. But what he does, but I can't imagine that someone who would hide the fact that he smokes pot via sandwich, you know, with his kids, would then be like, okay, no. Here's the thing: had one of those people maybe at least led into a relationship. If it was like one of the, you know, these people, it's gonna become a relationship. That would be one thing. It was just about him winning the belt and getting like the tricycle. He was just like, hey kids, guess what I did once? 2 chicks at the same time, man. Like that was his.
All right.
Like that was his story to his children. I was like, I write notes to Atlas all the time. I will not mention one time that I did anything remotely like that. Like this is not gonna happen. Like he can hear this. He can hear this part and try to guess at what his father has experienced in life. 2 chicks at the same time, Atlas. No, I'm kidding.
If you had $1 million, what would you do? two chicks, man.
You know what would have been? Like, there are a lot of things they could have done. They could have like tethered into mom somehow, or tethered in how it like affected how Robin saw him. I think that would have been interesting, because it's like if you're someone who's like all of your interest is just about getting 2 girls in bed with you, and then you look over and you see Robin kind of like judging you about that and saying like how Barney like you're becoming. You might that maybe then later on you recognize like the reason Ted would have told that story is because he learned not to be a jerk, because you know, like something like that. Or what if Barney tells some of the stories and we don't realize it?
That would be a much better. And then Ted and I.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what if Ted? Yeah. Like because like he's sitting there listening to his kids and like it. First of all, we all know that this story had to have taken place over several days. Like, there's no he must be calling his kids, but like, there's no way, right? Can it? How long were the kids on the couch? How long? Anyway, I'm not going to keep most of this in, but it's just like that part bothers me.
Well, you know, the one thing that never set right with me in that show was Stella did Ted so wrong, right? Yeah. Stella like really wrecked him. But what bothered me more was that like she knew. You know, she knew what she was doing was wrong, and she accepted like that, and she left with Tony. But why did Tony make a movie about how horrible Ted was?
Yeah,
like that whole you know, Jed Mosley and Chris Kattan playing. You know, like they made Ted seem like this horrible human being. Like, and I was like, man, like why did they do that to Ted? It was like such a messed up episode. Like it made me so angry because like Stella hurt Ted so bad, and it was like. They're gonna like double dip on this pain real quick and just kick him while he's down. Like, geez.
Oh yeah, twist that knife. Get that bucket of salt poured over our boy.
I just don't understand like why the writers even wanted to do that to Ted. Like, I don't understand what was happening. Like, I mean, I think they did try to branch it off into something else, but like, because I forget where it went. But it was just like, man, it's so messed up. It's talking about like it was the episode where they're basically talking about people's bringing baggage into a relationship, and then that's his baggage that he was.
Yeah, it is. I mean. His baggage is pretty important. It's weird. Like I feel like I have a lot less baggage now than I did like last year. You know, like I feel a lot better. I think the podcast has helped me a lot with that. Yeah, I do have to get out of my own head still, like with relationships. Like, you know, like hanging out with Li has been really great. You know, it's really great. She's really amazing person. But I do find myself, you know, in rare moments, I find myself just like having these little like doubts that are based on nothing, that are like Seinfeldian little twists, you know, where I'm just like, there's no reason that exists. And it's something that I could actually talk through with her and it would be fine, you know? And like, and sometimes like, because, and I brought it up to her where I was like, I think we're different, you know, like we do have different perspectives, but it's not, I think that there is a pretty strong Venn diagram there, like ethically and, you know, like kind of spiritually, you know, I think that there's a really strong Venn diagram, which is probably the most important thing, that, you know, like you identify with those things and, you know, kind of find shared joys in certain things. more so than like liking the same music, which we do like some of the same music and stuff, but like it is interesting. Like I asked recently on Twitter, what people think that you have, like what are the important things that you think you need in common with a partner to make a relationship successful, if anything. And a lot of people were like, I'm completely opposite of my partner. I'm completely out, I was just like, I get that, like, you're a little country and they're a little rock and roll. Like, that's not being opposite, Like, if you can't sit down together and watch Breaking Bad for the first time or something, like, that's opposite. Like, you need to be able to share those things. And if you can't, I personally, as someone who just really enjoys storytelling, really enjoys like the fireplace of our time being TV and stories. If you can't enjoy music and books and art in general with the person you're with, I don't know what you're bonding over, because like, how is your shared experience with those people different from a shared experience with anyone else? It's really weird for me. So it starts like I start turning those wheels and I don't know. So I'm like, and I understand, like Li and I have had a lot of conversations that have nothing to do with pop culture, and it's kind of like what Chicago Tony V was talking about, how a lot of like so many conversations at parties these days seem to only be like revolve around the sun of pop culture, like you can't escape the gravity of movies and TV these days. And that's true. And people like you and I like thrive in that environment because we love it,
Yeah, that's what we bonded over. That's what like our generation's is obsessed with,
Absolutely, dude. And like, but like, so Li and I have bonded over like that is like a star in our galaxy or like a planet that we can visit, but it's not necessarily the sun that we share. If that's does that make sense? Like, so it's we have similar interests in things, but we have so many conversations about other things that every once in a while I'll get in my own head where I'm like, maybe we don't have these things, and and then like in the very Seinfeldian way, I'm like, she's never seen RoboCop or whatever, or like she doesn't like, these movies. And it's like, as long as she doesn't hate Ferris Bueller, I think it's okay. Like it's
gonna be a tough pill is if she's never seen The Lost Boys. I've learned that people that haven't seen The Lost Boys, like, just don't accept it as an adult. Like, it's just.
Yeah. Here's the thing. She doesn't really. She's soft, Steven. She's a soft, delicate flower person.
So David ripping into that guy's skull at the fireplace is just not gonna be her cup of tea, huh?
Probably not. And that's the thing is, like, I don't know. Like, probably not. So I don't know. Probably not. And I don't know how I feel about it. And that's where I end up back in the place where I'm like, does that mean I can never watch Lost Boys with her? But I guess I could just watch Lost Boys when I'm by myself or with Steven. But
but
it's just
foreshadowing.
Like, exactly though. But that's exactly the case. Is like, so I get in my own head, and I talked to her about it, and I was just like, I asked her, I was like, does it ever worry you that we're different, too different, And she came into my work, like she stopped at my work, and like one of the last things she said before leaving was like, she's kind of whispered like, I like that we're different, and like left. And I was just like this cute magic person that she is. Yeah, she's like a weird unicorn person. I really appreciate it. But
Tina and I, for example, bond over a lot of things, but like Tina does not play video games.
Yeah.
At all. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we listen to similar music. We watch, we enjoy similar programming. We have like a lot in common other than that. Like, that's literally the one thing we probably don't have in common, but like, that's obviously a big part of my life, but it works just fine. Works great. It's a fantastic relationship.
Yeah. And it's still very new. I do have all these feelings. like feeling things are weird. It's feeling things.
Remember feelings, dude? You haven't had feelings?
Dude, I've never had feelings before. Now, it's weird. Okay. It's weird because I'm someone who like appreciates things and I can love people like for what they are, but I don't feel a personal connection with a lot of people, like it's, and I don't like, I'm sure I'm just, I have trauma. I have, issues with connecting with people. And maybe some of that is due to, the thing we just wrote a book about where I'm like, like maybe it's an abandonment thing where like I get ahead of things and I die, so maybe that's part of the issue, but whatever. I'm very apprehensive. Like I'm really reluctant to just get in there and like let people inside those, those rooms. So when I start feeling people like snooping around in those places, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that door was open. Like I didn't know that I gave you the key to that one yet, and like, oh man, you're there, and it's weird.
Yeah, not here, not now. We're just gonna leave this one alone.
Yeah,
there's stuff in there.
Well,
this is where I keep my fear of you young. Want to see how paranoid delusional I can be? Okay, this is that room. I'm afraid you're gonna yell that, and that's where I keep that fear.
Oh, it's such a specific moment.
We've been friends for far too long.
Yeah, it's okay. Anyway, so this is the end of our friendship. No, so but it's cool. Like I like it. It's just scary, So, and it's weird because like I am someone who has like jumped into like certain abysses without like recognizing that the red flags were my parachute or my bungee. I was like, I have this bungee of red flags that I tied around my ankle, and I know that they're gonna save me at some point. And it's not like I'm gonna jump into this thing and like have faith in it. But I also secretly know that I'm tying this thing around my ankle, and I don't really feel that with this. Like, I feel like every time I do have those little like apprehensions, I just talk to her about them. And so far, she's just been like basically taking a giant pair of scissors to those red flags while I'm doing it, which is amazing, but also still scary because I'm still jumping into this thing, and now I don't have that safety net. And and it's a safety net that I've grown accustomed to, and something that like I always knew. It's probably subconsciously, but like I always knew that I was safe, even though I was trying to take these leaps of faith. But now I feel like I'm just kind of leaping and hoping I don't hit a bottom somewhere, or if I do, I hope it's a really nice Rorschach, and it just leaves this beautiful painting, and everyone loves it.
You know who's gonna be at that bottom? Me, bro. Every time. Just a big Snorlax plush at the very bottom of that well.
That's all I ask. That's all I ask, Steven. I need someone down there. It was rough. Actually, the last time I reached the bottom of that pit, after Voldemort and I broke up, I was like working through things, and I started making this like improvised comic. This like improvised I was just drawing pages, just right on my tablet. I was just drawing pages of this thing. And the concept was literally, it was a guy who was hanging himself. It was me basically, but it was a guy that was hanging himself by a ceiling fan, and the ceiling fan breaks while he's doing it, and he falls through the floor. But when he falls through the floor, it's this giant like endless abyss, and it's just like it's like monsters and like just like but the ceiling fan is acting as like a propeller to kind of like bring him down slowly. And it was going to be that he just slowly goes through this whole abyss and ends up kind of in a better place and losing the thing around his neck. And so, and instead of like, killing himself, he was going to end up like sitting on the chair and like coming to terms with what happened. But what happened in real life while I was working on that was I was just putting out these pages, and they were so dark, Steven. It's like, it starts with a noose, and then the noose stops moving. Like the noose is moving, and then it stops, and then it gets darker. Anyway, so I was doing that, and my intention was to work through what I was going through, because like I was hitting that bottom, and I was like, I'm scared that there's nothing here. I'm gonna draw something there. Was my plan. Was basically like I'm gonna draw my way to the bottom and catch myself. But while I was doing that, I had people messaging me, telling me to stop the fall, like yelling at me about it, like don't do that, like stop doing this, like it's too dark, you're upsetting people, and like all this stuff, which I think was a horrible decision. Like I think that the way that my like people in my life handled that was awful. It was not the right way to do it. It's not how you deal with people who are going through depression or have depression. It's just not.
Because they seldom offer perspective. They just tell you to stop doing what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then insert nothing else into your life beyond that.
Yeah, like not once did anyone ask questions. No one was like, hey, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Or just like, hey, are you working through this? It's like, is this something should I be concerned? Like, it's the whole, like, do you need help, or are you working through this, or are you okay? Just ask some questions instead of making demands, like making demands. It bothered me is what it did. It made me feel like it was the inconvenience of the darkness that bothered them and not the fact that I was actually hurting. You know, or I was like, the fact that they have to be like shaken from seeing baby pictures and silly animals for a second, you know, is a bother. But that's what art is anyway. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're making it. I was trying to demonstrate this thing that I was going through that was really hard and important, and like I was clearly working through it like in real time, you know, because I was improvised. Like I didn't, you know, normally we write and we thumbnail and we go through this whole thing. I was just drawing, like I was just improvising these pages really quickly. And I was enjoying the process, and I was working through something, and I think like knowing what the end was, and that like I knew in the story everything's going to be okay, and I was working toward that myself. And then having people tell me to stop that process while I was doing it was just like...
And it was because of their own comfort. It wasn't even your comfort.
It wasn't me at all. Yeah.
It's like, because you weren't playing the character in their life that they have you in their life for. You know, you're this character to them, and you aren't snapping into your role. So like, get with it, basically. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to remember that people are complicated characters, you know, like we you know, although we might all feel like the, you know, hero of our own journey and the hero of our, you know, protagonist of our own story, we're still just like lesser characters in other people's stories, and we are, you know, we have our various roles, but everyone is still a hero in of themselves in their own story. We have to remember that when we meet them. We can't act like... there was Immanuel Kant has this whole thing where he says like we have to treat people like they're ends in and of themselves, like they are complete individuals. They're not means to an end, you know, because like that's when you start objectifying people and being like big monsters, you know. So and that's the thing, is people were treating me as a means to an end, and like what I was what I was giving them was a little bit of my perspective, which they didn't like at the time. So it was giving them the means to a sad ending that they didn't want to have to deal with, you know. And it's funny that, you know, people want to, you know, snuff out identities because of their own inconvenience, you know, or it's just like I wanted a little more empathy, you know, from people, but it's like you know, like we talked about before with the computer thing, with like my fear of Kickstarter, and it's just like I don't think people are really there the way they think they are, you know, and that's okay, but that's me like now coming to terms with like who people are to me in reality, you know, and we know what people are capable of, and you know what to expect and what to hope for, and you know it's interesting because like I think I was treating them in like means to an end when I'm hoping that people are going to support the various things we do just to support it. And I'm like, please do this, and I guess it might be unfair to have those hopes. I still have them. I still wish my family would be more supportive.
Well, man, like anyone that I care or know about, like if they have any sort of thing, like, I mean, I'm all about that. Like, don't you want to like anywhere where you can spend or like put yourself into, wouldn't you want that to be someone you know or care about? Like,
yeah.
You know, like if someone you know does, you know, air conditioning, wouldn't you want to hire their company?
Absolutely.
Like as opposed to someone else's company? Like that's what it's all about, is to building your little community, you know, and like help propping each other up, you know.
Yeah.
And
it
blows my mind that there's not that much.
No, I think people forget. I think people forget about the tangible community that you can create because of the internet. You know, like I think that kind of everything becomes like what's the word I'm looking for? Like everything is everything. Like or everything is everywhere all the time. You know, and since we're constantly connected to everything feels like part of a community. But some things are at reach and some things are closer. We have, you know, like we have a tangible, solar system, you know, and it's like I was talking about with LI and like where our particular sun might be. It's that way with every, you know, relationship, you know, like, you know, we have like right now, like this podcast is basically like the sun of our friendship at this moment, you know, where it's just
it has kept us so close, and it makes me so happy that we like, you know, it was your idea, but it makes me so happy that we've like committed to it, and we like don't miss a week, and we like film it, and like it keeps the friendship alive for sure. It
does. It's great, and like and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's good to recognize those things, and like we revolve around it and like kind of worship it as our friendship, you know, or it's like this is the thing that we appreciate the most right now about this, at least. And like I think that a lot of people forget, you know, like where people fit in their respective solar systems. You know, not necessarily even what they can get from them, but just what they are. You know, like when you look at the, you know, some people are immune to you. Some people are there, like, you know, affecting your gravity or whatever. You know, like people have feelings for you. It's like, it's just empathy is what I'm talking about, I guess. You know, it's just like, when you're, you know, you have to recognize that people, like, I have aunts that, like, you know, I've been there my whole life, and I always feel like I love them and I want to support them. And if they ever do anything where they need me, I want to be there for them. And I guess I want them to want the same thing for me, you know? So, and it's when I don't feel that, it does hurt, you know? And I don't want it to. I want to be okay with it and just be like, that's who they are, you know, and like get over it and just.
We all can't have Aunt Lori, you know?
Aunt Lori is my favorite. Aunt Lori is just a wonderful person. I mean, we do have a lot of like wonderful listeners, and we're like,
we do.
So what's next for you? I know, like I said this week, I think I want to totally focus on Kickstarter stuff. So my plan is to edit the commercial, to film with you, edit the commercial, and your plan is to do that page at least, right?
I'll color that page, and then I'll try to pencil at least. I'm still aiming for 2 pages a week because I want to try to get something done.
Oh, that'll be awesome. All right, dude. That sounds good. And I'm excited to see you on Thursday. So it's going to be awesome.
Me too.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I can't wait. All right, dude. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate all of you. If you're only listening to this on one of the various podcasting apps, we do have a video every single Wednesday. It's available at youtube.com/wehaveissuespodcast. Please tell your parents, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your frenemies. I don't know if that's still a thing. Tell your biffles and your sissles. I don't know. That's probably not a thing. I was making a thing. Tell your sissles. It's just another word for sister, I think. I don't know. So we need you to tell everyone you know to subscribe to this podcast. And also you subscribe to this podcast. We love you and we need you. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. I'm Anthony.
I'm Stevie Wildcard.
We'll see you next week.
Flower. I'm succeeding on a technicality. But anyways, I completely finished one entire page right here, which in my opinion is probably one of the cool. I love you, Chasey. You have a good night, okay?
That's my penguin.
Want to say hi to Mr. Anthony? Come here. Come in and say hi. You're already here. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Say, what's your name?
Crazy.
Where are you supposed to be right now? Where are you supposed to be? You supposed to be in bed?
It's so weird. It's so
Mommy
weird raising your mother.
I know. This is a little version of my mom.
The little version of your mom.
Little Debbie.
What do you say, Steve?
What's up, buddy?
Hi.
Hi, Atlas. How you doing tonight?
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
I hear you're 6 years old now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, I'm 6.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yeah. What do you say to Steven? Whatever you want.
How's your day?
My day? It was really good, actually. I had a busy day at work, but then when I got home, I got to make dinner for my family and have dinner with them and then draw a little bit before I talk to your dad.
Cool.
How are your girls?
Oh, they're good. Chase, you just missed Chasey. She snuck in here a couple times while we were filming the podcast. And Cammy's long passed out. Cambria cannot see it past 9. She'll pass. She's so funny. Yeah, you need to come over again sometime soon too.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I could bring my cartoon cat plushie.
Yeah. I need to give you yours back. I still have your guy. Your Five Nights at Freddy guy that you left here.
Oh yeah, was it Funtime Foxy?
Yep. He's up there by my Dragon Ball Z guys right now.
You could have got a Wizard Bonnie.
Oh, that was cool. That one's cool too. Maybe your next birthday or Christmas. Okay. All right. Say good night.
Good night.
Good night, Atlas.